Hi everyone, I'm going to do another Peter's Ramblings. I can cover various things all in one YouTube. As you can see, yesterday I went to a cactus meeting, one of my interests, and I was a bit naughty. I bought a book. Have a quick look at this one. If anyone's interested in Puntiers, the authors, John Pilbeam and Michael Partridge. A nice little book. Some of you have seen some of my draw for Puntiers in the greenhouse. I won't go through page by page. Even I haven't gone through page by page, but just show some of the pages. And for £35 I think I will spend on this little book. In fact, this is the first cactus book I bought for years. So as I say, when I took the wallet out, some moss flew out. Well, they're saying, oh blimey, he's going to spend some money. Anyhow, that's what I got yesterday. Got the back there. The genus Opuntia takes in several names. I know them mainly as Opuntias, but there are other names, and this book covers all those small species, the dwarf ones, not like the one they show on the front page. At least I saw it somewhere. Where was it? Can't find it now. There we are. The front page shows a typical Opuntia. Well, this book certainly doesn't talk about those. They're the large ones. I've got several growing in the garden, which is good because, as I say, normally the frost would get them. So far, so good. And I have shown these before. Anyhow, moving from that. As I say, this is rambling, so I can talk about anything, and probably will. I had a look upstairs, and I turned up this lantern torch. It's American, although it was actually acquired over here. When I say acquired, I mean from a boot sale. I didn't pinch it. It's made by Heathkit, a very well-known name. They used to make kits and various bits and bobs for the electronics trade. It's quite elaborate. You've got your on-off, and to start it, which I can't show you because the battery is flat, even if there's a battery in there. I will have a little look. It's just something that's been put in the actual collection. They name it a Heathkit rechargeable light. Few years old. Uses the old fluorescent tube. The name on the tube as well. I think it says Crompton. That was a company started up by Colonel Crompton many years ago. The company's still going. I think they're under an American group now called Cooper's Lighting. But Crompton was one of the pioneers during the setup of the national grid. We adopted AC. This was done by Mr. Ferranti in conjunction with Tesla, whose idea was to bring out AC, alternating current, and every country uses that to transmit power, simply because you can transmit AC over vast distances because it relies on what is known as the skin effect. DC will only go a short distance, and anyhow you can't transform DC, whereas AC you can push the voltage up high and then drop it down to whatever voltage you want to use. We tend to use 50 cycles, whereas the Americans use 60. And in fact, some parts of Japan, they can use either 50 or 60. I have mentioned this in another video that I gave on a lamp torch, not a lamp torch, on a lamp clock. I'll get it right. Anyhow, moving on. I don't know what this is. Well, I do know what it is. It's called an electronic pencil. Your guess is as good as mine. These are what was inside the box. Here we have a tester, presumably for touching on the side of the battery and going on the top. The little torch bulb, which is this one here, would screw in and that would fit in there, and you would test the battery. Interesting, this actual unit has got a battery which is trapped in there. I can't get it out, which is a pity. I will try to ease it out because it's an unusual item. There's also in that little file needles. Well, they look like needles. It's called an electronic pencil. It's a mystery to me, I'm afraid. A complete and utter mystery. That was why I got it. No one else would have picked it up. I did. And it's an item now in my little museum. Also, there's the little battery that there was. I think there's either 2 or 3 of these in here. It's possibly 2. This one came out. As you can see, it's a very old Eveready, a D23. That's one cell. It's about the thickness of a penlight battery, but not the same length. And I remember that when they used to have on there for longer life. Fortunately, this one hasn't leaked. It's zinc carbon with a carbon rod in there and a zinc outer. This is a typical dry Leclanche cell. So, if anyone knows anything about that, let us know. I'd love to know. Electronic pencil. It was manufactured by, there's the name there. I don't even think the firm's in existence still. They're in Bournemouth, or were in Bournemouth. If anyone lives in the Bournemouth area and knows this company or knows of them, give us a shout. I'd love to know. Anyhow, moving on. As I say, my interest has lots of things. I noticed I was drying a plant out, a succulent. This is a Hoodia species. It's a Stapeliad. Didn't do very well, actually. Well, it did do well until I had trouble with pests, and the little so-and-sos are still there. I think they're actually dead. I think that's the dead remains, those little white things. And it caused the plant to not do very well. Well, I took it off and cut it, and it's now calloused over. And this would be the right time to pot it up and try and make it root, but also give it another treatment of methylated spirits. I use methylated spirits, and I will be getting some tobacco to mix with it so the nicotine comes out, and that acts as a poison. So you dry them off by applying the mess and a little bit of poison just to give it an extra kick and get rid of them. Yeah, that's that. That's a Hoodia. Funny enough, that was actually sent free with trying to think what plant it was that I got off of eBay. Moving along, you never know what is going to appear here. We have, some of you would know what this is. and some of you won't. So let's see what it says. It's got UD on there, and that stood for United Dairies. They were one of Britain's biggest dairy farmers, and on there it says the sign of purity. That was their trademark. Well, years ago, milk bottle tops weren't the metal foil, they were a little cardboard disc which would fit in there, and if you see there's a ridge there, and that would fit in there. When I was at school, we used to get a third of a pint bottles of milk, and it was from the co-op, the Royal Arsenal Cooperative Society, which was based in Woolwich, and it dealt with South London, and the bottles they used were these type with the wide tops. They were rare then, and they're certainly rare now. It's virtually a collector's item, and that was the trademark United Dairies. They went on to form Unigate. They combined with the company of Cow and Gate, and they called themselves Unigate. They've all gone now. It's all gone. They might be still in existence under the Unitas name, or Unitras. It's got Unitra. But anyhow, they were very large at one time and incorporated a lot of other dairies, Edinburgh and Dumfries, South Coast dairies, Mortimer's. I could go on. Anyhow, that's a bit of history there. That's made of glass, and the bottom of the bottle has also got the name on United Dairies, and I don't think it's got the maker of the bottle. The big bottle makers of those at this time was United Glass and Rockware and Canning Town Glass. But as I say, it's a long time ago. Let's have a look next. Now you might, if you keep fish, you might recognise this from the old days. It's SS, made by Singleton Brothers. SS products were very, very good. They were English, entirely English, and made in England, not made in China or Taiwan or Hong Kong. They were made in England by Singleton Brothers, Victoria Street. That's a road I often walked down many years ago when I went to the Cactus meeting at the RHS Hall. Here's the item. As far as I know, it's never ever been used. And you'll probably guess it's a thermostat. And that would be placed inside the aquarium with a couple of little clips to hold it upright. The top part would be out of the water, so the water would go up to about where my thumbnail is, not above, because you get water in it, it'll do it a world of good. And inside you've got a bimetallic strip, which I can show you. There's the bimetallic strip. You've got a little magnet on there which allows it to snap shut, so it doesn't arc, it will snap shut, and when the temperature becomes warm enough it springs out and goes click and it comes out. A nice clean break, so a nice clean make and break, and you can adjust it. There's your temperature range. I hope that focuses up a bit. There we are. There's your temperature range. Run an aquarium normally about 75. I'm using the old-fashioned Fahrenheit. I was brought up with the Fahrenheit, and that's what you'd set it at. That would be the normal temperature for an aquarium of tropical fish or marine fish if you had marines. Also there is a little indicator, looks like a little neon lamp, and that would light up when the thermostat is actually open. So when that's alight, the heater is off. Sounds daft, but that's the way it goes. So light on, heater off. When the light goes out, the heater would be turned on. Now I haven't got a heater in front of me, but I have got the... Now these two wires here would, and as you can see there's no earth, it's the old red and black, the old fashioned colour code, red and black. Red was the live, active or hot, whatever you like, and the black would be neutral. Here you have a 5 amp type socket, and your heater would be plugged into there, and it would be in a similar glass tube to the one I'm showing there, but it, instead of a thermostat, it would be a nichrome or nichrome wire which heats up possibly about 75 watts, and that would heat up and in turn heat the aquarium. Now they're made all in one, and they're often electronic, which does away with the actual bimetallic strip. But I still like these. They were the old types. So that's that. That's SS. In America there was one called the Supreme by the Danner Company, I believe. I've never actually seen one, but they were very good. Anyhow, moving away from aquariums, I got 3 little test meters. I say test meters. This one would in fact have been screwed up on a panel. It's an ammeter, but not the normal type. It's got a name on there, Philip Harris Limited. It goes up to, is that 5 amps? I think that says 5. My eyes are not too good, and this isn't always focusing very well. As you can see, it's not a linear scale, which tells me it's not a moving coil instrument. It's what they probably call a moving iron. There's nothing to say what it is. There's also a name at the back, Hobart. And as far as I know, this would probably work on AC and DC, but more than likely just DC, so don't quote me on that one. And how it would work, you have a magnet inside and a coil, and the coil becomes energised, and the extent it gets energised is where the needle goes to. But it's not a linear scale, so it'd give you an approximate amperage reading. I say it's a magnet, and I'm not too sure. I don't know if it's a magnet or not. It may not be a magnet, it may just be soft iron, but you've definitely got a coil which becomes energised, magnetic, and would pull the core over, which would in turn make the needle go across and indicate the amperage. And this would be wired in series with a circuit. So if you had a lamp, you have the lamp, the ammeter, back to the power source. So they're wired in series. A voltmeter is wired in parallel. And talking about voltmeters, we have a very, very old one here. It's not very well damped. As you can see, you just touch it and the needle jumps all over the place. How you would use it, you've got your test lead here. There should be a little contact thing on it, like a little pointer, but it isn't. So that would go on one side, and you touch that probe onto the other side and you'd get a reading. This reads up to 6 volts, so it doesn't go up very high. You'd probably test batteries. 6 volts, and you look at it inside that. I don't know if that's the coil or not. That possibly that is the coil inside. There's a pretty crude movement, but in those days that's what they had. No idea who it's made by. It would possibly be made on the continent. I know they made a lot of these in France, but an interesting item all the same. And the last one of our meters is volts, and this one, as you can see by the symbol underneath, will take either DC by the straight line or AC, so it's both, and it's a non-linear scale. That's your volts, and that would wired across a circuit up to a maximum of 300, so that would, you could put this on our mains, which is 220, in America 110, 120, and that would measure both of those. Turning him over, you've got a coil outside and a resistor which acts as a series resistance, and the two terminations would be what you would connect it to. So one little voltmeter. This doesn't look that old, to be quite honest. There's no name on it, nothing. Oh, is there? A bit of reading under there. MR75. That might be the year. I honestly don't know. But there we are. Once again, a non-linear scale. If you ever see a non-linear scale, it normally means it is not what they call a moving coil movement, where you have a coil which moves within the poles of a magnet. Anyway, where have we got to? Oh yes, getting through with these. I hope you haven't fallen asleep yet. I picked up some thermometers. Quickly go through those. Now, when you're in hospital, in the old days, there used to be a little container stuck on the wall with fluid in it and a thermometer. In fact, not like this one. It would be a thin glass tube. This is even earlier, it's continental. And the nurse would come along and say, oh, pop this under your tongue, and it would read your temperature, which is on here is fortunately in Fahrenheit. As I think it's I think it's 100. God, I used to know 104.5. Anyhow, it's within that range, just over 100. Don't ask me what it is on the Celsius or centigrade scale. This instrument, I would think, it's got Allied Laboratories London, so it was obviously made for a firm over here. But I would guess it was probably German made. Ah, there we are, it is German made. First time I've noticed that. I've been looking but not seeing. Made in Germany. So there we are, that's a nice little German mercury in glass they call these. Mercury is one of these things you have to be a bit careful with. Well, if they're sealed they're alright, but if they become broken, be careful. Don't inhale the vapours because it can send you mad. Remember the Mad Hatters, they use mercury in hat making and it often sent them mad. Now let's look at the other one. Got one in here, if I can take it out of the tube in one hand. This is another one which is not a clinical thermometer. It's flashing, so it might be running out of battery. So if it suddenly goes off, it's because the battery's run out. Hope it focuses up a bit. This is another mercury in glass. And that would just be used for general testing to check the temperatures and that. The clinical one, as we showed earlier, would have a restriction, which means that once that has reached the temperature you're looking at, it would not go back down. You'd have to shake it down. This is why you see people shaking the clinical thermometers to bring them down below 100, I think it's 104. Someone will correct me on that. I can't remember everything. And finally, some of you will be glad to hear that is the last one for today. Well, for now anyhow. Is a very old thermometer, also mercury in glass. And this would be used for just testing purposes. It may be a dairy thermometer for making cheese making. Is there anything on the back? No, there's nothing on the back. These items were beautifully made. They had like a white glass backing, and if it will focus, it would be nice if it did focus. A thin wire was used to hold the backing on and set to the right temperature. I don't know why it's not focusing. There, I'm making it focus now. These thermometers, or I don't know about this one, but the modern ones are normally nitrogen filled. So the space above the column of mercury, it's a capillary tube, very thin tube, and there's nitrogen gas in nitrogen filled. Anyway, I've exhausted all the bits I've got here. So any questions, you know what to do. Thanks for watching. I'll put this under Peter's Ramblings. I find it easier to do this than actually write it down because my eyes are not that good now. Desperately want an operation for cataracts. It seems to be getting worse by the day. So anyhow, thanks again for watching. Any questions, please ask. I try and add things which I think may be of interest. It might not be of interest, but they're items that I've picked up over the years, over long years actually. So I will stop talking. I jokingly said to someone yesterday that at my feet was loads of hind legs of donkeys, and the person didn't know what I was talking about, and someone else said, "Oh, sorry about that, going down you get." And someone else said, "Oh no, it's an old saying, you can talk hind legs of a donkey off." Well, I can probably do that. I did kiss the Blarney Stone in Ireland, so I blame that. Anyhow, once again, thanks again. Sorry about the old pusscat just jumping up. She sort of wants me to make a fuss of her.